Quickly, before we get started, do you have Cupful FOMO? Do you want to get a head start on your Keeping Karlsson Ultimate Patron Fantasy League rookie season next year, or just a quick taste to see if you're ready? Good news, we need waitlist managers to take over teams today. Some teams are good, and some will be really fun projects to take on and see how many wins you can pick up rest of season as a reclamation game. Whether you want to hone your skills for next year or just have fun, come join us. And being a replacement manager comes with all the usual perks of being a Keeping Karlsson patron, like, well, that warm fuzzy feeling knowing you're supporting the show, plus access to our Discord community for patrons only, bonus Patroncast episodes, and our show notes each and every week. KKUPFL.com is how you can sign up to be a waitlist manager. Come join us. Try it out. See if you like it. KKUPFL.com to become a Cupful manager today or someday real soon.
What's up, champs? Welcome to another episode of Short Shift Fantasy Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Keeping Karlsson. I'm Shams here, hosting with the one and only Elan. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good, man. It's I guess we did this a couple weeks ago. I didn't realize we were going to be doing this today until around 20 minutes ago. But happy to step in the last minute. Hopefully I'll have something smart to say with no prep. I will let everyone know that I went for a couple drinks after work today, and I still was able to get my kid to sleep, so I was pretty proud about that, like not fully sober. We'll see if I can also do a podcast. Now I'm like pretty much back to sober, but I was maybe considering just chilling and watching TV. But this is much better, and there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about. So Shams, I'm ready to get going here. Also, this will be hopefully fun because my fantasy team, and the Cupful specifically, is really, they're all just not even doing anything. So I need something to take my mind off of it. So I'm excited to do this show. But I'm looking at my page for today. It's all ones and 0.5s and point. Come on, do something. I'm poking with the stick, that meme. Like, do something. Jake Gensel, it's 3-1. Nothing? David Pasternak, 2-0 Boston, nothing? Come on, guys. We'll see. Okay. What do you got? What do you got for us, Shams?
All right, well, talking about surprises, we got Kaapo Kakko traded to the Kraken, kind of came out of nowhere yesterday. And the interesting thing is that we actually have, if you told me the two players you would want him to be playing with, we got him paired with Beniers and McCann, probably the two most offensively known players. And we have the GM telling us that he's going to get power play time. At the time of this recording, they haven't had a power play yet, so we don't know what that is. But with them splitting both power plays, you should be able to have at least some interesting time there and playing with two big names. They're kind of getting shelled right now to Chicago of all teams, but hopefully something turns around. What do you think of this, Elan? It's kind of an interesting, top 12 situation with the Kraken, but with the way the Rangers are playing, anyone off of that team might be a plus.
Look, so it was Kakko for Will Borgen, a couple picks. If you have Kakko in a dynasty, Brian and I have him in the Keeping Karlsson Dynasty League. I'm happy for the change of scenery. I hope he'll do something for a one-year league or like any short-term thing. I'm definitely not. Like, I'm as excited for Kaapo Kakko as I'd be for, like, I don't know, Andrei Burakovsky. He also gets like deployment in the top 9 in Seattle and gets on a power play, doesn't do anything. I'd be really shocked if Kakko does something, but who knows? Like, it's a change of scenery. I'm sure the lines will change a zillion times. Like you said, today in this game against Chicago, so far we're recording this at 9:40. So we're like not, barely into this game. Yeah, Kakko with McCann and Beniers. If they don't do anything, probably by the next, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to the fourth line at some point. Like, Tolvanen has had opportunities. Like, this team just has so many guys. In a one-year league, I have no interest. I don't even think I've added him to my watch list. But it's an opportunity for him to show that he's something. Like, he got benched a couple games for the Rangers recently. So even Kakko getting a regular spot in the lineup is an improvement, but it might just be that he's a defensive player. Like, I don't know if he actually has fantasy upside at this point in his career, but he's still pretty young. So I guess there's a chance, but I'm not rushing to grab Kaapo Kakko, that's for sure. Especially like with Seattle as the destination. Like if you would have told me he's going to Colorado or like Edmonton, and he's going to play with like a real stud, then okay, then it's like that could be interesting potentially. But here it's like fine, like maybe he'll get an extra minute of ice time than he would have in the Rangers.
Oh, yeah. It's basically the way I looked at it when he got traded is just to add another forward to the list on, your Sunday when you're looking for a random Kraken that might randomly get a point or get you 0 Kakko points. This is just another guy to add to the list. And then, if anything changes, which probably won't with that coaching staff, that's probably the most he'll be. But going forward, talking about a player that we do care about, we got Ehlers back yesterday, and this is just kind of a simple situation. He's back with Perfetti and Mystikov, and he's back with the obvious 4 others on the top power play. So nothing really to write home about this, just kind of the power play's back. Perfetti might be, have a more interesting line mate, but other than that, just kind of go to yourself and then be happy that you have him back in your lineup.
Yeah, I mean, so Ehlers had his first game back against Anaheim, picked up a power play assist, so that's nice to see. The Jets did lose that game. I saw some quotes saying that Ehlers didn't have his best game, which makes sense. Like, I think the quote was like, he looked like a player who was rusty from the coach. So maybe he'll do even better. 2 shots, like from a stat line, like, well, not that bad. 2 shots, a block, power play assist. So I assume that he'll continue with the strong season he's been having, over a point per game. Maybe a little bit unsustainable. Like he has a 14.3 shooting percentage now when his career average is closer to like 11%. So maybe all these goals he scored, he has 9 goals in 25 games. Maybe it'll go down a little bit, but good spot. And yeah, Cole Perfetti, definitely. I was a little, like I wasn't even that interested when he was on the top power play. So now that he's bumped back down, yeah, definitely not interested. No points in that last game against Anaheim. He had 3 blocks. That's nice. At least he stepped in front of some pucks if he's not going to get a point. But I don't think that he's going to be interesting off that PP1. And yeah, I guess we'll see what Ehlers can do for the rest of this year as he's fighting to get a big payday at the end of the year since he's a pending UFA.
It'll be interesting to watch. And something to keep in mind is maybe that shooting percentage might be staying up a little bit more than usual now that he's on power play 1. Maybe it might get some better looks. But either way, just kind of be happy he's there and just kind of take the points when you get them. And talking about being happy, there's nothing official yet. But the nice thing is that Ovechkin has left the week-to-week and is now coming into the kind of day-to-day situation. He's not going to be ready for the next game, but it looks like the word is that he'll be potentially back Sunday or Monday. So just kind of keep your eyes on game day tweets and just keep an eye out for when that time comes and see how the lines go. But just keep your fingers crossed. It looks like it's coming back soon.
Yeah, I guess one thing to mention here is Brian and I were really going nuts over Jakob Chychrun on our Sunday mega show and how awesome he's been lately. We failed to mention that he's been on the top power play recently, I believe, like in, not in Ovi's spot, but, in Ovi's absence, they've been going 3 forwards and 2 defensemen. So in the last game against Chicago was Wilson, Strome, McMichael, and then John Carlson and Jakob Chychrun. And Chychrun's done really well on the power play. Like he has 6 power play points, looks like, since Ovi's been out of the lineup. So if Chychrun gets bumped from the top power play, that would be a reason to expect his production to go down a little bit. Like he also has a bunch of even strength points. So it's not as if I expect Chychrun to disappear. But, when we were talking about, wow, is he on pace to have a career year? He's currently pacing for 66 points. Is he going to hit that? If he loses top power play, that could be 10 points that you have to expect to be removed from the total pace. So definitely that'll be something to watch. Maybe they end up bumping someone else from the top power play, though. So that'll be interesting to see. But definitely it'll be fun to see Ovechkin back, on the Caps and see him continue to chase that goal record. Washington's been doing pretty much just fine without him, but I'm sure they're excited to have him back.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And talking about defensemen, we have another one that's, I don't know if it's official, but basically all sides are pointing that Dahlin is likely to return tomorrow for Friday's game, which is basically a nice boon for that team that's currently on an 11-game winless streak. But the interesting thing is that I guess once you're losing 11 games straight, you're trying anything and everything. And I do not know what you have to think of to get to this power play. Power play, I guess one, because Dahlin's on it, is Benson, Quinn, Thompson, Turcotte, and Dahlin. And then that leaves Zucker, Cousins, Tuck, all who have played on power play one at times, with Kulik and then Power and Byram alternating. So while Dahlin is coming back will help just the team all over the place, but I have absolutely no clue what to think about these power plays. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, they were running these drills in practice. I doubt that will last. Like, that's definitely them trying to do 2 even power plays here, maybe easing Dahlin back in. I wouldn't be surprised if before long they just go back to a more standard, Thompson with like, Peterka and probably Cousins. And then I guess there was a stretch where like Tuck was off the top power play and Zucker was there, so I don't know if they're going to stick with that. But I wouldn't like bank on like these power plays last night. I definitely wouldn't like rush to grab Jack Quinn, who was nice to see Jack Quinn actually have a good game at some point recently, because he was a guy that a lot of us were drafting and expecting big things from. Then he was been a total zero, but he did have a 2-goal game a couple games back, followed that up with nothing in the embarrassing loss to the Habs 6-1. I think if anything, like one guy that I'm hoping will improve with Dahlin back is Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who like I thought I was really smart grabbing him out of free agency when he was dropped in like a couple division, just for him to drop a negative 4.5 on me on Tuesday against the Habs. So welcome to the squad. That was after, by the way, Stuart Skinner dropped a negative, I think it was like 2.6 or 2.4 on me the day before. And right now it looks like Skinner is a negative on me currently as well. So it hasn't been a great week for my couple team for goaltending. So, Rasmus Dahlin plays a lot of minutes. He's good offensively, but also hopefully will help just the team overall, like not let in so many goals, maybe get a win finally, and make this UPL pickup not a complete disaster.
Oh, yeah, don't worry. All they're doing is playing against the Leafs tomorrow, so you'll have it in the bag.
Geez. You know that I dropped Elvis Merzlikins, not exactly like 1-for-1, but it was like since I'm dropping Merzlikins, I have a spot, so I might as well add Dahlin. And Merzlikins was doing so terribly, and then today he picked up a win against New Jersey and like a big 43 saves on 45 shots in the 4-2 win. So it's just like, don't you think that fantasy would kind of be easier and maybe more fun without goalies? I know it's like maybe heretical to say, and a lot of people don't like that, but it's like sometimes it just drives me crazy. It's just so hard to predict. This is all you can predict. Like Hellebuck's going to be good. After that, it's very tricky. Even like some of our big names, Saros, Shesterkin, have been struggling at times. Really just feels like, when I go to Frozen Tools and I look like who are the, they have a really cool view where you can just see who are the hot players. You go recent trends, hot, cold players. Like here's the hottest players at the top of Frozen Tools for skaters: Braden Point, McKinnon, Kucherov, Draisaitl, Rantanen. It's like, these are like, I could have guessed that those were going to be guys among the top. I'm sure if I were to go, okay, let me switch to goalies. Who are the hottest goalies on Frozen Tools? I'm just curious to see. I'm doing this live right now. Hottest goalies: Ullmark, Hellebuck, Markstrom, Vasilevsky. That's actually like kind of predictable, though Ullmark was doing so badly not too long ago. Nice for Markstrom to be bouncing back a little bit. Then there's Calvin Pickard is on this list. Calvin Pickard, is 4-1 in his last 5 games. I guess that's why Skinner hasn't been getting all the starts. Anyway, just a rant, but hopefully UPL does better with Dahlin back.
Oh yeah, it's that. It's just the dance of goalies, and you get these situations where, like Saros right now is after 2 periods, he's let in 3 goals on 9 shots of Pittsburgh. So, you're just gonna have those moments. But to be on the other side, I love the randomness of goalies, because I'm not interested in playing, fantasy baseball where you could basically take out a spreadsheet and you got 100 and whatever games, and you just know that if you do the right draft pick, that's just going to last forever. Throw in a little bit of randomness. We're not playing chess. We're, Yeah,
I guess it definitely makes it more fun. Anyone could win. You could draft Juuse Saros, and then I'm hoping that in one of my dynasty leagues, I'm hoping maybe Anunen gets a few more starts now with Saros struggling. He had a couple good games to start his tenure. Since we're on Nashville, I might as well mention that it looks like Roman Josi should be back pretty soon. This morning, like Thursday morning, when Nashville was having their practice, it was even looking like he was going to come back today. Like he was practicing on the power play and even strength, but then turned out that Josi was going to miss another game. So one last opportunity, I guess, for finally Brady Skjei at least getting top power play. They actually waived Mark Del Gaizo, but now I'm seeing that he's still in the lineup today. So I guess it's one of those things they waived him and no one claimed him. So they're like, all right, you can stick around at least one more game. So we'll see. But Skjei has an assist. It's 3-3 right now at the end of 2. I don't think it's not a power play assist. It was a power play assist. Look at him. Luke Evangelista, Tommy Novak. Is this even top power play? I don't even know what's going on over there. I added this guy. Okay, I'm going to do a lot of Dynasty talk now because Ryan said that he thought it would be fun to just hear me a little bit inebriated and then talking about my Dynasty teams for like 45 minutes. I added this guy, Adam Wilsby, who, just because I don't know. I have Roman Josi actually in that league, so I just figured I have to fill the spot anyways. He had a couple good games today. So far, he hasn't done anything. So it's a non sequitur. Ooh, another thing I can mention about Nashville defenseman, Jeremy Lauzon back today. After a long absence, no points, obviously, but 4 hits so far through 2 periods. So if you want to get your guy back in there to give you your hits, there's few better than Jeremy Lauzon for that. So I'd imagine once Josi's back, maybe Del Gaizo's out of the lineup. It looks like Blankenberg or Wilsby or Gaizo. Yeah, maybe Blankenberg and Wilsby will stick in the lineup and Gaizo will be gone. And we'll see. Not that that's too like fantasy relevant. I'm also still curious to see if Brady Skjei could bounce back at some point. He was drafted in like all of my leagues this year, and I think there were a lot of high hopes. He's been such a big disappointment. Maybe if Nashville turns it around, maybe at some point Skjei can start producing at least a little bit. Because right now this contract's looking pretty bad. 7 years, $7 million, and right now he's looking like a 20-point defenseman.
Yeah, it's a little bit different when you're going from the Carolina offense where they're getting all the goals, and then now we're just hoping if that you're not getting shut out with. I can't believe it talking about Marchment and Stamkos, but right now they do seem to be at least putting up some points, so maybe Skjei can ride along for some points. Moving on, we got Vanecek, who's now out week to week with an upper body injury. He's out, and now we talk about goalies moving around. We got Georgiev now as the main guy, as the Sharks goalie. But before you think, oh, he's going to get all the starts, most likely what's going to happen is that we got Askarov that's got called up. The way I look at it is probably just going to be like when they had Vanecek out and Blackwood still in net earlier in the year. They're just going to do the 50-50. So right now we have Blackwood in his revenge game against Georgiev tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if Askarov gets the next game and then they just go 50-50. But right now, just kind of keep in mind, it's now going to be Askarov and Georgiev instead of Vanecek and Georgiev.
Yeah, so Vanecek got injured on the bench, like took a puck to the face, like on the bench. That's a really crappy injury to have to deal with. But for fantasy purposes, always fun to get more opportunities to see Askarov, who came up, like you said last time, looked pretty good. Pretty excited for when San Jose isn't so terrible. I think he's got a really bright future. We had 2 games so far this season, and he let in only 4 goals in over 120 minutes because one of the games went to overtime. He had 1 win and 1 overtime loss. So depending on the games, I think Askarov could be a pretty good spot start, but I agree with you that they're not just going to give him all the games. They traded for Georgiev, and I think the smart move for San Jose is to try to pump up Georgiev's value to potentially trade him at the deadline because he's a pending UFA. And they'll then be happy to finish off the season with Askarov if they can get something for Georgiev. So, yeah, I think you've got it spot on. And this is going to be a really wild game tonight after we're done recording this with Blackwood against Georgiev. You'd imagine a lot of people were saying this is the Georgiev revenge game. But then a lot of people were saying maybe it's more like the Colorado forwards are going to want to take revenge on Georgiev for costing them so many wins. And so maybe they're the ones who are going to be taking revenge and just blasting their former netminder that they're happy's out of the picture. So I'm really excited to see what the result will be.
Oh, yeah, it'll be an interesting game for sure. And one last injury to note. We don't have much information on it, but just kind of keep in mind to just watch on Game Day Tweets. Hopefully by Friday, we should know more about Mason Marchment's injury. Basically, right now, all we know is that he's dealing with, quote-unquote, something. took him out of the third period. So just keep in mind with that line of his is that we don't know how long-term, if at all, it's going to be, but just keep an eye on game day tweets and we'll make sure to let you know once we find out.
Yeah, it looks like in this game against Toronto, they were rolling some interesting lines. J-Rob was at one point with Rope Hintz and Maverick Bork, and Wyatt Johnson was with Dadonov and Ben. That line of Duchesne, Marchment, Sagan, that was so hot for a lot of the year. Now Sagan's out. If Marchment's out, poor Matt Duchesne. I'll be curious to see who he ends up lining up with. Maybe Stankoven. So I can imagine that would shift around a lot, or maybe just Marchment will be fine. So like you said, just something to monitor, and maybe a player will find themselves in an interesting spot, like a Maverick Bork. Like if Maverick Bork ends up sticking with Jason Robertson and Rope Hintz long term, that could potentially be an interesting guy in a deeper league that you might want to take a look at.
And with that, we'll head to the ads.
Don't you love that communal feeling as you're walking into a hockey arena, knowing that you are all about to experience a hockey game together with a bunch of strangers wearing mostly the same jersey, depending on where and when and who you're seeing? I like that feeling too. And listen, it's easy to get that feeling when you buy your tickets with Game Time. Game Time has a new feature too called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. They'll filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I'm looking on my Game Time app right now, and I can actually just look at all the Sens games coming up. Penguins, Rangers, Bruins, with pictures showing me where each seat is located and all-in prices available to me too. What more could I ask for? The seat views are amazing. You get like this panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. They also give you the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That's called giving it 110%. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
The 2024-25 NHL season still has that new car smell, and the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple, like picking a team to win. You can also pick on a player to score a goal. You can bet on a whole bunch of things. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN. Stands for the Hockey Podcast Network, for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
And welcome back, and we'll go right into the outjuries. We got actually a two-pack here coming in, is that Alex Lyon is officially back. He played the last game, and Talbot is looking to be close with Husso getting sent back down to Grand Rapids. Even though it's not official that Talbot's going to be back into the lineup, I take that as almost this official word. So the weird rotation of Husso, Sebastian Cossa, that seems to be over for now. And we have Lyon and Talbot to be back in the netminders. Now, it's not going to be giving a lot for Detroit with them playing basically both goalies too much. But the nice thing is keep in mind is that both of these guys have the opportunity to randomly steal a game. So it will be interesting to see is that it might be an interesting idea to have maybe a spot start for a Lyon or a Talbot, depending on how your leagues are, if they're in free agency, or to keep in mind that you might get that weird situation if you have an offensive player going against Detroit. You might get that random game with 5 shots and no goals just because, Lyon decided to be on, a brick wall that night. So just something to keep in mind is that Detroit's now back to their starting plan for goalies.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the main plan is for Talbot to be the starter at this point in line as the backup. Like, Talbot's been really good this year, right? He has a .916 save percentage. He had a really good game against Philly where he had 34 shots against. Then he got injured in practice. So if he comes back and he's back to how he was before, I think that's definitely interesting. Talbot hasn't been bad for sure. He didn't leave a good taste in anyone's mouth who streamed him in his last game against Philly, where he let in 4 goals on only 19 shots. So I think Talbot is definitely the more interesting one. And if he's in your free agency, maybe now's a good time to give him a shot if you need a goalie. It is goalies. And this is coming from the person who just streamed in UPL and got a bunch of negatives. But I think Talbot, if he can stay healthy, maybe just don't practice, I think he has some value for you. He's been pretty good this year when he plays. And Detroit's, they're not San Jose. Like, they're trying to win here. So I think that they would ride him. So he's definitely the one that's interesting to me. By the way, I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't get to see Jack Campbell. I know he got called up at one point. It would have been fun to see him get an NHL game. Though in a similar vein, did you hear that the Leafs have called up Matt Murray? So maybe he'll get a game soon. With Stolarz injured, I guess they decided to send Hildeby down. It would be really fun to get a retro Matt Murray game for the Leafs. It would be fun maybe if at some point we could get Murray against Campbell. Maybe that's too much to ask. But that didn't happen for Detroit, but we'll see if it happens for Toronto, getting a goalie that we didn't expect to see in the league ever again coming in play.
Yeah, they have a back-to-back with tomorrow against Buffalo. We're talking about Toronto here with Buffalo, then the Islanders. So with the way Buffalo's playing and the Islanders, maybe it's time to give Murray a shot. I know off the top of my head, I don't have the numbers, but he was doing really well in the AHL. So, hey, you never know. And might be an interesting situation, or hopefully it doesn't end up that him getting blown up and getting sent down, but something to keep an eye on for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, .931 save percentage in 8 games with the Toronto Marlies for Matt Murray. So pretty good, but the AHL is, of course, not the NHL. So we'll see how that goes. I really hope he gets a game. What do we got next here?
We got
Arvidsson.
Yeah, we got Arvidsson coming back, and everyone has been waiting so long, and they got rewarded with Arvidsson coming back in the bottom 6. He's playing with Henrique and Brown. We don't have any power play lines to know if he got into either of the power plays. Now, the interesting thing is that they are down, the Oilers, 2-0 pretty quickly to Boston. So knowing how the Oilers play, they love to mess up their lines in game. You'll see 3 different sets of lines. So nice to see Arvidsson back. He has a history of playing well. I wouldn't put too much worry on the fact that he's on the quote unquote third line away from either Draisaitl or McDavid, but just something to keep in mind that he doesn't have the best setup today, but it could easily change by the time I finish this sentence.
Yeah, I mean, Draisaitl is playing today with Kasperi Kapanen, Vasily Podkolzin, so definitely not immovable objects here for Arvidsson to bump. That said, don't forget that Arvidsson has been dreadful this season. He only has 5 points now, and I guess it was 16 games. Now he's playing his 17th game, so it's not like he's the Arvidsson of old. Last year, well, he only played 18 games. We had 15 points in 18 games. That's pretty good. The year before in LA, 59 points in 77 games. So it seemed like he's been above 60-point pace ever since he got to LA. Not a great start with the Oilers. Apparently, though, he was saying that the injury that kept him out this whole time, he was also nursing that injury before. So maybe you can't really judge, or it could just be something he's saying. Like, I don't know the guy. I don't know if he's a liar, but I would imagine this is also him just getting eased back into the lineup. And also, I think the coach said that line, he was happy with the Draisaitl line, but if they get shut out by Boston today, then probably they won't be as happy. So I would definitely not be surprised. I'd be willing to bet that, well, I don't want to bet, but I would be pretty confident that Arvidsson is going to get in the top 6 for Saturday's game. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. And maybe he could be interesting, but also he might just not be good anymore. So that's a concern. Don't rush out to get Arvidsson, but if he's playing with Draisaitl, it's hard to argue with it, I guess, especially because he has still 2 more games this week after today.
Yeah, for sure. And talking about Arvidsson, we can go back to his previous team, the Kings, and we got a hot streak to go into, and we got Alex Turcotte, who in the previous 4 games had 2 goals and 2 assists playing with Kopitar and Kempe. And the interesting thing is that he has another assist to go with it today. So that means now 5 points in 5 games. Now, the interesting thing to keep in mind is that while he's getting these points, he's not really shooting that much. The last 2 games is only 1 shot. So I wouldn't know, be rushing to grab him, but maybe in your points only leagues or in situations where you're looking for deep options, I am basically saying that I will be interested in anyone that's playing the left wing with Kopitar and Kempe, even if they like to spread it their lines. It feels like they put Fogle there, they put Trevor Moore there, and now it's Turcotte. Anyone that's on that line with those 2 players, the Kempe and Kopitar seem to eat well, and right now it's Turcotte.
Yeah, no disagreements here. That's such a sweet spot this season. Those 2 have been having such a great year, Kopitar and Kempe. Turcotte's a high pedigree guy, finally getting an opportunity. LA, just like Edmonton, also still plays 2 games this week, Saturday and Sunday. So if you have room, you can grab for 2 games or maybe for a Sunday savior. If those lines are still sticking, you could do a lot worse than the person on the top line with Kopitar and Kempe, depending on who else your options are. I would take Turcotte at this point over, I think, Viktor Arvidsson. Even if Arvidsson's playing with Draisaitl, I think I just feel like Arvidsson could get bumped mid-game. I don't know. Maybe it's close to even. Right now, my gut feeling is until Arvidsson does something, I'm not too excited. And Turcotte is doing stuff right now. Like you said, another point today. The Kings are drubbing Philly 7-3. Kolosov, not a great game after Ehlers also didn't have a good game the last game. So maybe they're gonna have to go to their number 3. Maybe Fedotov comes in next, tries to earn a top 2 spot again.
Yeah, just after that ranking of the goalies, it all just felt like to crumble down. So we'll see how it goes. I believe it was 2-2 at one point, and then it turned into 7-3. So, the Kings, they might not be Stanley Cup potential, but they're definitely a team that can burn you if you're not ready for it.
I mean, if Edmonton could maybe stay away from the Kings, maybe the Kings could be a little bit better. They always seem to play Edmonton in the first round and get beaten. Maybe they're a little better than their overall standings have been just because of that bad luck in the first round.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Moving from one California team to another, we got a couple of hot guys on the Ducks. We got Jackson Lacombe and Vatrano playing well. And the interesting thing is that Vatrano is, I guess you could call it the top line. They spread it out. He's played with Terry, and he's probably the best offensive player. So anytime you got those 2 together, you got my interest.
Yeah, I don't consider it spread out. I think that Vatrano-Terry line is the top line because that's the only line that's consistently producing. Vatrano just had a big 2-goal, 1-assist game against Winnipeg. Overall, he's now up to 17 points in 29 games on the season, starting to inch back a little bit towards his heights from last year. He also had 5 shots in that game. If you look at the game log, a lot of big shot games for Vatrano. And Troy Terry right along with him has been pretty solid. He had a little cold stretch, but now we're looking at 4 points in the last 3 games for Troy Terry. So he's been pretty steady. But I think the interesting one that might be available in even deeper leagues is this Jackson Lacombe, who I feel like going into the year, it was who's going to quarterback the top power play? Is it going to be Zellweger? Is it going to be Mintyukov, Cam Fowler? But no, it's this guy, Jackson Lacombe, who had himself an assist in that game against Winnipeg. And before that, 2 straight 1-goal, 1-assist games. Also, these aren't just lucking into points. He's been taking a lot of shots, 10 points in those last 3 games. He's been getting top power play, even though of these 5 points, only one of them was on the power play. So this Lacombe guy might be for real. I don't know. But I guess if you're on the top power play with those 2 I mentioned, if you're with Terry and Vatrano, that's the most likely unit to produce. And then also getting a lot of even strength time. So definitely, if you need a defenseman, I think now may be a time to take a look at Jackson Lacombe, another player playing still 2 more games this week for you after you listen to this, Friday, Sunday. So you'd probably be able to fit him. Well, you'll definitely be able to fit him in for both games. It just depends who you're dropping.
Yeah, and then talking about the 2 big guns, the interesting thing is that the third line mate on that line is Ryan Strome, but he actually has assisted 3 straight games. He has an assist in the last 2 and then 2 assists in the game before. He only has 4 shots across those 3 games. So kind of like a Turcotte situation. He's kind of playing third wheel. But if you're looking for assists, that's a person, to take interest. He is also playing on the top power play with those same guys. So someone to grab. And once he gets cold, I wouldn't be worrying about if you should drop her or not. Just kind of take the ride and then throw him to the waiver wire once it gets cold.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just never been able to want to add Ryan Strome. I just always feel like he'll let me down. But it's a good point. He's playing in a good spot. So definitely these last 3 games, getting an assist in each game is evidence that even Ryan Strome can produce if you're playing with the likes of Troy Terry and Frank Vatrano and Jackson Lacombe, the red hot players over on the Anaheim Ducks.
Oh, yeah. It's the joy of fantasy is you take a look at the players that you never thought you'd actually care about. So talking about players that I wasn't on my radar for right away at the start of the season, we got Dylan Holloway. Is that he was on such a hot streak coming into the year, playing so well, but he's kind of gone cold with no points in the last 4 games. And actually, let's say the game against Tampa's gone to final, so he has no points in the last 5 games. The interesting thing, though, is that when I was making this note up, I was going to recommend dropping him because he was on the third line. The interesting thing is that just this last game, he was originally playing on the third line away from Kyrou, Bishnevich, and Robert. But right now he's playing with Kyrou and Shen on the second line. Would that give you any more interest to kind of give a little bit more rope, or it's just 5 games with no points and only getting 2 shots today with 1 shot, all the other games not enough to make you want to hold on to him?
I mean, definitely depends how deep your league is. I think Dylan Holloway is a guy that's definitely going to produce at points this season, as he's shown. He's got talent. I don't know if I would bank too much on him playing with Kyrou just because they just lost this game. So I would definitely be wanting to look at what the lines will be for the next game. Maybe he goes back down to the bottom 6. I guess it would have to be a pretty deep league for me to be especially excited to grab Dylan Holloway. Looking at the schedule for the rest of this week, St. Louis plays just tomorrow, Friday, against Florida, and then not on Saturday or Sunday. And then the following week, their schedule is pretty similar to a lot of teams. Monday, there's no games Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then a couple games on the Friday and the Sunday. So I think, I think that if you grab Holloway, there's definitely a chance that he can do something, but he's not someone that I would be strongly recommending. That hot streak was great, but at the end of the day, if you're not on the top power play, it's hard to be a reliable producer. Definitely better to be playing with Jordan Kyrou, but it's not the same as playing with even some of the higher end guys. And St. Louis also just doesn't score too many goals. So could be good, but yeah, I think the cold streak is notable, and I think probably it's more just a message of you're probably snoozing if you've been holding on to Holloway this long. You might want to look and see if there's someone you can switch off to.
For sure. And with that, we got another cold streak with a bigger name player. We got Barzal. He came back and he's played 2 games, has yet to get a point. He has, I believe, 2 shots in 1 game, 4 shots in the other, and then a hit or 2 kind of sprinkled in there. With them getting shut out the last game and just kind of not really showing much offensive capabilities the last few weeks, how much rope are you giving to a Barzal? Say if you're in a situation where maybe you're fighting for a playoff spot, how much rope are you giving to him?
I'm definitely not going to drop Barzal. I did trade him before he got injured in my infamous trade where I also traded Leon Draisaitl and got back Pasternak. So maybe you don't even want to take my advice, but I would be a little nervous that the Islanders just are not an offensive team that's going to support a really high-scoring player like a lot of people thought Barzal could be. It looks like Anthony Duclair might be back soon, so maybe they can get that band back together, the Horvat, Duclair, and Barzal. That was looking promising in the preseason at the very least. So all hope is not lost. He might also be bouncing back, and maybe Patrick Waugh can help figure something out, but it's definitely concerning. I definitely would not drop Barzal again. I feel at any game he can go off, and like you said, he is taking some shots. If one of those 6 shots in these last couple games had gone in, we probably wouldn't be talking about him. So there is definitely a little bit of luck involved here, but I Would be very shocked if for the rest of the season he ends up going point per game. I think maybe you're hoping for Barzal to bounce back to be like a 70-ish point guy like we used to expect him to be before that crazy run last year.
Oh, yeah. And talking about if you get some points and make yourself feel a little bit better, is that Brady Skjei now has added a goal onto his assist. So now he has his first 2 points of the month of December. His last point was an assist in November 27th. So hopefully this is more of a sign of things to come. They have 4 goals against Pittsburgh. It's not the greatest opponent, but at the very least, they're starting to get some goals. So hopefully the defenseman can start getting some points, and we'll see once Josi comes back. Just the overall offensive firepower just makes all the ships rise.
Yeah, I mean, Brady Skjei was so great for stretches over the past few years. So maybe now's the time. If you need D, if you're desperate, he's probably in free agency for you. I don't know, but maybe worth a shot. Okay, if he's getting his game going a little bit, but it's also a game against Tristan Jarry. So maybe I don't know how much stock you want to put into it, and Roman Josi's out of the lineup, so he's maybe getting a bit more ice time than you can expect. But they brought Skjei in for a reason. They're paying him big money. I'd expect him to be more like what I said before, like a 20-point defenseman. Maybe he can like get himself up to being a 40, 45-point defenseman, which I think is what a lot of people were expecting. So there could potentially be something there. So interesting to see him score a goal since we brought him up. Maybe now he'll score another goal after we finish recording because there's still 10 minutes left in this game.
With that, that's the end of the show. Thank you for joining us. And thank you again, Elan, for being our emergency podcaster coming in. If you enjoyed the show, please consider joining Keeping Karlsson Patreon group. And on top of being able to watch our shows live and being a part of the Discord group, you could have a chance to take over one of our waitlist members on our Keeping Karlsson Ultimate Patreon Fantasy League. There is a chance that sometimes people have to leave and are unable to take care of their teams. We make sure to have someone fill in to keep the league active, and that could be you if you're not a part of it already. And with that, we can also take a look at game day tweets. I mentioned them earlier into the show. You can keep a track of all the interesting news and notes. You get to see when Josi and Marchment are possibly coming back. And with that, thanks again, everyone, for taking a listen. And until we see you next time, play smart, keep your shifts short.
Hey everybody, I'm Trevor Sikkema, host of the PFF NFL show, here to tell you what you can find on all of our shows throughout the week. On Mondays, we have the Grade Release Show, where myself and Dalton Washman break down every single game that you just saw in the NFL. On Tuesdays, we have the Quarterback Breakdown with Seth Galina. On Wednesdays, we've got the Rookie Review with John Ledyard and the preview for the upcoming week in the NFL. So make sure you are subscribed to the PFF NFL show wherever you get your podcasts.